of all of its stores to the beer store, and they continue to operate under that name to this day. I forgot that. And I didn't realize that that's just sort of a random thing that happened. But yeah, so if you look at it, it's the beer store. And if you look at it from a present-day perspective, you're just like, oh yeah, they got permission to use the beer store. Yeah. They didn't. That is so strange.
For those Americans listening.
Yes. How do I explain this? Okay, it's very quickly. Although now a handful of grocery stores and Walmart, of all places, do actually carry beer, in Canada you cannot buy liquor or beer generally in any kind of store. You can't buy them in convenience stores. We do have liquor stores, but I'll get to what those are in a second. But we have, specifically if you want to have beer, you have to go to a specific place, which again used to be called the Brewers Retail, is now referred to as the beer store. Guess what they sell? It is literally a store that is just packed with beer.
Yep.
That is what it is. Or heaven. I mean, one way or the other. I mean, it could be that.
You want to call it that.
Exactly. And as far as liquor goes, we also have specific stores that are called the LCBO in Ontario. It's the Liquor
Control Board
of Ontario. Thank you. And that's basically the store you go and buy your liquor in. We don't have
They
liquor
also sell
stores.
beer now.
They do. Which I'm sure the beer store... Actually, I do remember the beer store being very pissed about once they started carrying beer.
So that's a little Canadian liquor
so
lessons
that's
for
how you explain... Yeah.
Abroad.
And I mean, only within the last year have they started selling liquor in... Well, not liquor, but beer and wine in grocery store chains.
Yeah.
Only a handful of chains do it, and only a handful of locations.
Yep.
Near where I work, in a Walmart, they sell beer. But that's it. I've never been to a grocery store that has it. I've passed by some that have it on a sign, but it's never happened. That's how few they are.
Here's the thing, do they don't get money for that, obviously, because they come up with the name beer store here, and then the Brewers Retail use the name beer store. Do they have to then? No,
that's not how that works.
They could just go, oh, that's a good name, we're going to take it.
I'm pretty sure. I'm actually pretty sure that that's how that goes.
Beer store is just... It lets you know.
Yeah,
it's like
it's just like Brewers Retail.
Guess what
it's
we
like,
got?
Oh, that's the fancy ass term.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, fuck this. We're not
Beer
fancy.
Store.
It's a beer store. It's a place where you buy the beer.
Where you buy beer.
Yeah, the beer is here. This is where you go.
Yeah.
And it's exactly as it is in the film.
Yep.
Like if you watch the movie, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how it is in a beer store. You just you order it and it just comes down those lovely fucking turnstiles that only exist in the fucking beer store. It's kind of strange.
It's my favorite part when my dad took me to the beer store.
Me too.
Child.
Yeah,
and
you
then
got
I'd
to
wait for the beer to come out for the thing.
You got to play with the little fucking wheels on it. Yeah, no, I used to love that all the time. This is what happens when you have alcoholic parents, folks.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the legacy of this film, because there's not much about the making of it, but this is more entertaining than the film itself, I will say. Well, not the film, but the making of it. While not a direct novelization, a book shaped like Bob and Doug's stubby beer bottles was published as a promotional tie-in for the movie. The book touted its ingredients, quote-unquote, as a mellow blend of choice cartoon tidbits and the finest photo snippets aged in goatskin bags. It also featured a fake library card insert with the signatures of famous Canadians who had allegedly checked the book out, including hockey player Bobby Hull and author Margaret Atwood. Being only available for a short time, the book is currently out of print. Do I have to explain what a library card is now?
No.
Okay, because just look it up, kids.
You rent a book, you sign a card.
Yeah, you used to sign a card when you borrowed a book from the library.
I'm
sure they don't even do that now. Soundtrack album was released in August of 1983. Most of the album consisted of comedy sketches and film dialogue, while the music sampling was usually, accompanied by the characters' commentary. The main theme was also performed by Thomas's brother Ian Thomas. The soundtrack won a Juno Award for Best Comedy Album in 1984. Moranis and Thomas accepted the award in character at the award ceremony on December 5th, 1984. The album was only available for a short time and currently remains out of print. This was the last album released by the duo.
I'm sure you can Spotify it.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I definitely got the clip of the song from the beginning. By the way, if the intro sounded patchy, it's because I was cutting out them talking. You could not find a copy of the song that didn't have them talking on it, so I had to make a patch.
Although that song, right at the beginning, the Strange Brew song, is so fucking
it's really good. So good on Ian Thomas, because he got some shit going there. Okay. The duo revived the act in two award-winning television commercials for Pizza Hut in 1984 and in 1986, and a 2-year campaign for the Molson Brewing Company in 1999 and 2000. I remember that very clearly. Consisting of more than a dozen television and radio commercials, which aired nationally in the U.S., and also a series of commercials for Mr. Lube, which aired in Canada in 2002. featured as a sponsor of the 24th anniversary. A series of Red Cap Ale commercials featured the duo in 2007, along with collectible Stubbies featuring the characters on the bottles. Stubbies are another thing that the Americans never had. Is basically our beer bottles, if you watch the movie, were these weird short things. They were like very fat, very short, and not like the beer bottles you have
Americans do have them because Red Stripe.
Oh, right, yeah, that's
Red
a current
Stripe
thing.
comes in,
they just started
bottles.
doing that, right?
So, yeah, I kind of wish they brought Stubbies. They do
Every now and then. You'll get a Stubby back.
But they really should do is right around Canada Day, they should put out Stubbies.
Yeah, you would think. But, I mean, why the hell is Molson not just using Stubbies anyway? Like, I don't understand that.
I don't know. In a nostalgia-based world, you think it would work.
You would think, right? I mean, it would probably get a lot more people reading or drinking their beer.
Yeah.
McFarlane Toys produced Bob and Doug McKenzie action figures in September of 2000. I've seen them. Couldn't get my hands on them. They're way too expensive.
Especially now.
Yeah. In the 2000 video game Spyro Year of the Dragon, 2 characters appear in the Icy Peak level whose names are Bob and Doug. The level is a land of ice and snow, and there are references to certain areas of the level to ice skating and ice hockey.
I was literally about to go,
as well as the use of the phrase "take off hoser." The characters the player interacts with in the level seem to speak with Canadian accents, so I'm guessing overly dramatic.
Yes, sir.
In 2003, the fastest computer in Canada at the time, which was used by the Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics at the University of Toronto, was named after Bob and Doug. The $900,000 computer was being used to simulate supermassive black holes and collisions of galaxies. The machine, nicknamed Mackenzie, I'm not going to go through the specs because the specs are sad nowadays. But they consist of 2 master nodes named Bob and Doug.
Only more impressive if they went, "How's it going, when you turn it on?"
I would bet money that they do. Or
How's
did. I don't think it exists, How's it going,
Take off, you
hoser. That's when they close it down. They played a variant of the duo for the Disney animated film Brother Bear and its sequel.
Yeah, they were characters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being the voice of the pair of a goofy bull moose named Rut and Took. They also recorded commentary for the DVD.
Which you missed opportunity. Could have just called them Bob and Doug.
I don't think they could legally.
No?
No, because different companies own it, right?
Ah, you're right. They own the name Bob and Doug?
For the reference,
not Mackenzie.
Considering that the actors were them. Remember, this is the only thing Rick Moranis has done in the last decade is these Brother Bear movies. So
that is true.
I'm pretty confident Disney could get sued by MGM, and I'm sure somebody's looking for any excuse to sue Disney because they're so goddamn litigious themselves.
Yeah, fair enough.
A new special, Bob and Doug McKenzie's 2-4 anniversary, aired on May 20th, 2007 on CBC. It is a retrospective of the history of the characters and the popularity, featuring interviews and various celebrities,
and it's fantastic.
Classic clips. It is. And new material featuring the pair. It includes an introduction by former Canadian Prime Minister Paul Martin and a cameo appearance by Geddy Lee. On November 20th, the special was released on DVD, which I own. Re-edited by Thomas himself, it's twice as long as the broadcast and features several classic Mackenzie sketches from the SCTV in their entirety, new footage filmed on the Great Wide North set, and an hour's worth of bonus features. A Bob and Doug McKenzie beer bottle opener was included with every DVD. I don't know what happened to the one I must have had. I don't even remember it.
Fair enough.
But I don't know what happened to it, and I'm very upset by this.
But it is a great special.
It really is. On a Season 4 episode of the C-Feed Network show Z Nation, I'm not calling it sci-fi, featured the main characters entering Canada and running into RCMP officers, a hockey team bearing the Canadian logo, and of course zombies, very reminiscent of Bob and Doug McKenzie. The cast members who confront the lookalikes use the catchphrases A and Hoser, among others. The comedy metal band Big Dumb Face sampled dialogue from the film in their song Organ Splitter, which I've heard. It's great.
Yeah.
Several lawsuits over the years have been... This is the story I wanted to get to. I went to all of that for this shit, so hang out with me on this one. Several lawsuits over the years have been filed not against breweries, but PepsiCo, alleging to have found both mice in bottles and cans. The most famous was in November 2008, when an oil company worker named Ronald Ball called Pepsi and told the company that he had found a dead mouse inside a can of Mountain Dew. In response, the company met with Ball to collect the mouse. According to Ball's lawyer, Later, Ball filed a lawsuit against Pepsi for $50,000 in damages, which, not bad considering. It usually is worse. You would assume it'd be $50 million.
Yeah, a company like that, just like 50,000. Fuck, I found that in my couch cushions. Here you go.
But they didn't. They wouldn't let him get away with this. Because you know what? The damage to the brand could be higher.
Yeah. It's not the money, it's the damage.
Yeah, it's the damage thing. The series of events didn't truly make headlines until January 2012, however, that month. The world find out how Pepsi was planning to defend itself. In an affidavit, Pepsi moved to dismiss the case and used an expert's testimony to support the motion. The testimony was, according to veterinary pathologist Lawrence McGill, Ball couldn't have found a mouse in a can of Mountain Dew because, even if a mouse had been in the can, it would have dissolved into a jelly-like substance after 30 days. The can had apparently been shipped and sealed in August of 2008. Gill also claimed that the mouse was too young to have been found in the can. When it was sealed, it wouldn't have been born by then. In the days that followed this revelation, reporters spoke to quite a few experts in an attempt to verify Pepsi's claims. In one instance, a University of Guelph food scientist named Massimo Marconi told the CBC that Mountain Dew couldn't have caused physical changes to a mouse inside a soda container. There would not be enough acid in the matrix of the can to actually start causing those physical changes to the mouse. He said the mouse would start to spoil. There would not be enough acid to preserve the mouse. It would start to smell bad, but to say that the mouse would actually dissolve in about 300 milliliters of soft drink, it's pretty hard. But if the mouse had been placed in a gigantic vat filled with the soft drink for a long period, then maybe it would disintegrate, he said. Still, if you look at a can of Coke, it has about a drop of phosphoric acid in the entire can, which is a minuscule amount. So even though people say it can strip pennies, that's just a myth, Marcone said. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
You can clean cars with Fanta.
You can. Soda is extremely high acid. However,
that guy's working for Big Pop.
I think so. However, the Explorer Multimedia Inc. YouTube channel published a video, which I watched, depicting a time-lapse that they said showed what happens when a dead mouse is placed in a Mountain Dew for a total of 37 days. It does, in fact, become a jelly-like substance, and they show it.
Steve watched it, so you don't have to.
I almost puked. Don't watch it. It is fucking gross. But it does exist. That video is easily found.
So don't put the mouse in the bottle, eh?
No. Jesus Christ. And, I'm sure there's just as much acidity in a beer, so that mouse is getting liquefied. So back to the movie. A sequel to the film, entitled Homebrew, was planned for production in 1999. When financing fell through at the last minute, co-written by Dave Thomas and Paul Flaherty, Flaherty was also going to direct, and Dan Aykroyd was on board to play the part of a friend named Rick Ripple, which is the best fucking name ever.
And it sounds like someone that Dan Aykroyd would play.
Absolutely.
Hi, Rick Ripple here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Principal photography was to begin on July 19th, 1999 in Toronto. At one point, Todd McFarlane was to step in as executive producer to revive financing for the film, but never followed through. That was because Todd McFarlane was going bankrupt. This is what happens when you sell all of your money to buy sports memorabilia.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The plot, according to a Maple Palm release, would feature Bob and Doug, now working as garbage men, being convinced by a fast-talking insurance salesman, Aykroyd, to get into the microbrewing business. I want to see this fucking movie.
Yep.
I'm telling you right now. It's never going to happen, but I want to see it. The Mackenzies eventually reunited in animated cartoon form in a series developed by Fox in 2008, initially titled The Animated Adventures of Bob and Doug Mackenzie. The show, eventually retitled Bob and Doug, ran for a 10-episode first season and a 5-episode second season on Canada's Global Television Network. Moranis and Thomas created and executive produced the show, but only Thomas returned to voice acting, the character of Doug, while Canadian actor Dave Coulier provided the voice of Bob.
It was a suitable replacement.
He was fine.
He was okay.
The show was... Yeah, you would prefer Moranis. The show wasn't great.
No, it was okay.
It didn't have the charm of the movie.
It was okay.
Yeah. It was serviceable, and it was nice to see the characters again. Rick Moranis doesn't work anymore, so he wasn't going to do this.
Yeah.
So, he was fine. He did his best to impersonation as you can expect, but it was fine. Thomas and Moranis returned as Bob and Doug for a one-off